what usually is done within an MEA to promote compliance. And I think here it's important to make the point that compliance mechanisms or compliance procedures, which we'll talk about in a second more, are not the only mechanisms to promote compliance within an MEA. I think at least as important, and as Maria was talking about this morning as well, is actually knowing what is happening within countries. And how do you know what is happening with countries? Well, one of the key ways is actually through self-reporting by states. So all these national reports that Maria and her colleagues have been looking at provide a lot of indication of how countries are doing, and provide the initial basis for actually checking whether countries are and whether states are in compliance with their own obligations. But it might be, and this is not just in international environmental agreements, but also in other agreements, there are other ways of checking compliance as well. So it might be through international monitoring and inspection, which we can see in the nuclear weapons case. It might be through independent experts, which you see in the human rights case used a lot. Or it might be in some cases that NGOs play a very important role. And Professor Sand yesterday already provided the example of traffic in the wildlife regime. So there's a number of ways in which we can figure out whether countries are doing what they said they would. But then what you usually also see as a second step, because it may be nice that all these countries are reporting on how they're doing, it may be nice that we have all that information, but how do we make sure that that information is actually the correct information? So what you see here is that most MEAs will also provide for some kind of mechanism or for some kind of review system to check whether that information is indeed correct. And the usual way of doing that is by having a team of experts to look at the information and to verify whether the information is indeed correct. And then as a final step, some MEAs have also introduced, as I said, compliance mechanisms or non-compliance procedures.